No one paid much attention before to state election boards that certify votes because they always did their jobs. In the same way, most Americans never gave much thought to the General Services Administration in D.C. But Emily Murphy, the head of the GSA, had been refusing to do her job of authorizing the start of the presidential transition process. But we have some breaking news on that front. NBC News has confirmed that Murphy has informed President-elect Joe Biden the administration is ready to begin the formal transition process, according to a letter Administrator Emily Murphy sent this afternoon. Joining us to discuss this is Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of Illinois, who is on the House Oversight Committee that asked Murphy to appear before Congress. Congressman, did I say your name correctly? And I apologize if I did not. I want to make sure that I get it correctly.
You got it close. It's funny. I often get pronounced Roger Christian Murphy, much like Administrator Murphy's name. So just call me Raja. It's fine.
Raja, thank you so much, Congressman, for being here. Names are not my best quality, but I'm working on it every single day. And I think saying someone's name is a sign of respect. And so I try to get it right. Congressman, we just got this breaking news. What do you make of it? And do you still want to hear from Emily Murphy now that she did sign ascertainment?
I think that it's a good sign that finally the Trump administration is recognizing reality. As you know, most states have certified their elections or are on the way to doing so. And I think it's high time because my constituents are past the election at this point. They are upset about the current pandemic. They're upset about the health crisis. They're upset about their jobs and the economic crisis. And they want a vaccine ASAP. And so all those particular challenges need to be confronted right now. And the transition is essential to making good on Joe Biden's plans and promises to deal with all those crises.
Why do you think it took her so long? Was it purely, political loyalty to Donald Trump and his administration?
I think it was that. I think that, quite frankly, the public pressure has been welling up at this point. Today, I think, as you mentioned, 160 CEOs from the private sector put pressure on the Trump administration to move on. Republican senators are coming on board with reality and basically putting pressure as well. I have not heard from a single colleague of mine in Congress who happens to be a Republican who does not believe that Joe Biden was elected president, nor that he will be the president come January 20th. So all of these factors are coming together, and I think that Administrator Murphy is giving into reality here.
Why did the House committee decide it was important to hear from her? Obviously, she didn't show up, and she's saying she's going to send a deputy next week. But clearly, this short delay has slowed things down a bit for the Biden team. Do you still want to hear more about that from her directly?
Perhaps we will kind of gauge the nature of the transition now that it's officially beginning before we call her in. But I still think that it's important to hear from her and how the transition is going to be expedited at this point, given the delays that we've seen so far. I think that it's so important, for instance, to begin the background check process, especially for those sensitive appointees, the cabinet level appointees that need to, be in place come January 20th. We also need to have all those national security briefings happening on an expedited basis at this point. And we need those health officials who are coming in for Joe Biden to know exactly what is the status of our response to the pandemic, as well as what is the status of the vaccine approval process. Because I got to tell you, this is one of the lousiest Thanksgivings that we're going to have because families are going to be separated. And the only silver lining that people see right now is a vaccine. That's all that people are talking about, especially among my constituents. So they want to know when that vaccine is going to be here.
Do any laws, in your view, need to change so that we never have this kind of stalling in a transition ever again?
That's a very good question, and I think that we should take a look at this because we don't want this to happen again. Traditionally, even in very closely contested races, such as the Bush-Gore race in 2000, the transition did begin in the sense that Bill Clinton gave both Al Gore and George W. Bush at that time access to sensitive national security information and other materials necessary for a transition, regardless of who ended up taking the presidency. This time around, no such transition happened, even when it was clear who was elected president. So I do think we need to go back to the 1963 Act that governs the transition process and fine tune it and make sure that someone like a Donald Trump cannot impede a smooth, orderly transition.
Absolutely. Congressman Rajan Krishnamoorthi,
Hey,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much for being here today.